Okay, so what did you want to get into next?
Well, the bat and the ball question.
Oh,
And
right. Okay, yeah, that was a funny one. So originally, I thought that the ball was 10 cents, but that's not actually what the ball costs, right?
correct.
Right. Because what happens when you add it is, let's see, if the ball costs 10 cents,
Then the bat
um,
is $1.10 on its own, and the total comes to
exactly,
120.
then it would be 120, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
But if you ask this question to most people, like a lot of people will even just give the answer of 10 cents and not think it through. But even the ones that think it through and do say 5 cents in the end still had the answer of 10 cents pop into their head right away. And this, I think, is the unconscious mind doing the work for us, right?
Agreed.
It's just looking at the numbers. It sees $1, 110. Well, it's 10 cents difference. But that mind, it works at 11 million bits a second, right? It's taking in everything, even if we're not consciously aware we're taking in all that stuff. It's why when a car's coming at you, you don't have to sit there and think, should I get out of the way of this car? No, you just react and you get out of the way of the car. But it sometimes makes mistakes, like the bat and the ball question point out. And the conscious mind, which is only 40 to 50 bits a second, it's slow. And it it takes a lot of effort to do it, right? Like to actually think through this question, it takes some effort. We it I don't want to say lazy, but that's the best word I could kind of use. It's kind of lazy, and it sloughs a lot of work off onto the fast mind because the fast mind often will do it and give the correct answer.
Right.
Um, yeah. So I think that points to kind of what you're speaking about with like the subconscious mind doing all this work all the time that we're not even consciously aware of.
Agreed. And I think that's an interesting question because it sort of brings it back to this notion of like what is the subconscious and why do we have it? And I don't mean like how did we get it? I mean like why do we have it? Why is our subconscious mind telling us, why is it forcing us to have such a great want to live, right? Why do we want to live so bad biologically? It's a subconscious it's a subconscious feature that we can't escape. We can't answer the question rationally of why do we want to live. It's almost like intuitive. It's like, oh, I don't want to die. Dying's bad. Why is dying bad? Most people don't know the answer to why death is bad. They just intuitively believe, they trust in their subconscious to tell them that life is good. And
Yeah.
that highlights something very interesting to me because it's the question of it does kind of rope back around to the question of what is the purpose of life, but this question kind of connects, why is our subconscious pushing us on? Why do we want to reproduce so badly? Why? It's not going to matter when we're dead. We won't feel proud when we're dead. We have absolutely no cognition of, if you're not a theist, we have no cognition of the life that's going to be, before us. Like after we die, none of that's going to matter. All of life won't matter after you're dead. So it's like, why is the subconscious driving us forward?
I think this is part of evolution. It's we just life tries to survive.
So interesting. I've read a lot about infinite regress in epistemology and trying to understand justifications. And if we push it onto evolution, if we push the idea of evolution being trying to drive us forward, we're kicking the can down the road, right? We're pushing the question down the road, which is, if we go all the way back to the beginning of evolution, we can just ask the same question, which is, why does evolution want us to live? What is the purpose? Does it arbitrarily want us to reproduce And it's like, the question still remains, why?
Yeah, sure. And to that question, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no problem admitting that I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish a lot of people could just admit that.
Agreed. So yeah.
Now,
yeah, go ahead.
Do you know about Carl Jung's idea with the way that the unconscious self deals with reality? The 4 states of it, with denial, projection, integration, and transmutation?
No, tell me about it.
Okay. It's kind of hard to explain. I've made a comment. I could give you the full comment if you want, where I actually try to explain this well, and it ties into the fast mind, slow mind, bat and ball thing. But let me give an example, right? Jordan Peterson, when he asked himself the question when he was in his discussion with Muhammad Ijab, do I believe that God exists? And he doesn't answer the question, which I think is denial. And he makes a projection, which is, well, that depends on what you mean by do, and what you mean by you, and what you mean by believe, and what you mean by God. And you say, well, we already know what those words mean. But no, not when you get down to brass tacks. Nobody knows what those words mean. See, the denial part is him avoiding the question, and the projection is saying that nobody knows what do and you and believe mean.
Okay, so what is the theory essentially like an explanation on like human behavior, why certain people will do certain things?
Yeah,
or
this
is it just
totally about human behavior?
Okay.
Right.
So it's kind of like a form of psychology.
Well, yeah, that's Carl Jung. This is his work on psychology. Like when a politician is avoiding a question, just like Jordan Peterson avoids the question, like, does he believe God exists? Right? I don't think that I used to think that, well, they're just lying, they're just covering the tracks, and that's not necessarily correct, though. I think actually it's the unconscious mind blocking off the conscious mind from being able to see what's really happening and not wanting to admit that it's wrong,
or that it doesn't know something.
Yeah, and as well, like, sometimes people just don't like to say I don't know, and I think that is just that egotistical unconscious mind not wanting to admit that it doesn't know.
Yeah, that's true. And it's probably difficult for a lot of people with high status when they build their way up to very high level intellectual discourses where, like, millions of people watch them. That's probably difficult to say, right? I don't know. It's probably something very difficult to say with somebody who has a reputation of knowing so much. And if you're that high up there, it's probably much, much harder for someone to admit that there's just something that they don't know.
For sure. Exactly. I totally agree. I don't know. Did you want me to just send you that comment that I have about this? It might give a lot more understanding of what I'm saying.
Yeah, sure. It's a comment. What is it, like a few paragraphs or something?
Yeah. It all fits into one YouTube comment. So it's not super long, but it's kind of longish, right? It almost takes up the full YouTube comment.
Okay, send me the message on Discord and I'll read it.
Yeah, I'm on it. It'll take me. Discord doesn't allow too many words, so I got to break it into pieces. But
oh, damn. Well, you could also send it to my email if you want. But whatever is easier.
I could do it here. I've done it quite often.
Okay, cool. And is that something you want to keep discussing, or do you want to go back to capitalism afterwards?
Well, afterwards, I'll bring this into the capitalist conversation.
Okay, cool. Yeah, now that I've found someone like you, I'm not sure if capitalism is capitalism might be a waste of the time you're here, since you have much more depth to you than since the surface level of like economics. But like most people I run into, they're like, I don't know, they'll really be really stupid about it, like, oh, you're a stupid shithead for believing in capitalism, or I don't know, like, you're a stupid commie for believing in whatever.
Yeah, for not believing in capitalism.
For not believing in capitalism.
Yeah, to them people, they're just fast minding everything.
Yeah.
They're not willing to bring this to conscious awareness and actually have an honest discussion about this. That's why when you ask me if I want to have an honest discussion about this, I'm totally willing, because I'm willing to have my mind changed. If I'm wrong about something, I want to know it. And the only way I'm going to, like, I can't do that to myself. I know my own mind will go into denial and not want to bring up things that will show that I'm wrong. So I need to have somebody else to bring that up to me. Like iron sharpens iron, right?
Agreed. And I think that's what separates the vast majority of scholars and intellectuals. It's like there are definitely two camps. The first camp is truth seekers, meaning those who want to find truth, and there's a reason for that. And then there's the other side, which I'm not sure if they would just be sophists, but they're people that they have enough philosophical knowledge to get their points across, and I think they found enough tools to like dunk on the people that they're against. And those people are not engaging in good faith towards truth. And that's fine if they don't want to seek truth, but it's annoying to deal with them because they're not aligning with my objectives of trying to find truth.
I I understand what you're saying so well.
Yep.
I mean, that's the whole reason that I made this comment. So are you still recording right now?
Yeah, I started recording after you came back.
Okay. Did you want me to read this comment off for
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay. The first part kind of already went over, but I'll just say it for everybody. I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to predict that the answer you will have pop in your mind at first, and predict it will be a wrong answer. This works on most people, and you can try it for yourself on others to see it too. It's an interesting conversation starter. A bat and a ball together cost $1.10. The bat cost $1 more than the ball. How much did the ball cost? You might have an answer of 10 cents flash in your head right away with this biased, inaccurate, fast mind, but if you check that answer with your slow but more accurate conscious awareness, you can see that that answer is wrong, but it takes effort to do. The answer of 10 cents is not the right answer, but most people have that pop in their head because of the fast thinking mind that we rely on most of the time. The fast unconscious mind is taking in everything and trying to make sense of it really fast. It's 11 million bits a second, but sometimes it makes mistakes. The slow conscious mind is 40 to 50 bits a second and lazy, but it can check things and bring the unconscious mistake into conscious awareness where it can correct it. The next thing to understand is about Carl Jung and the 4 ways the unconscious complex he called shadow deals with reality. The shadow is an unconscious complex. It is defined as the repressed and suppressed aspects of the conscious self. There are constructive and destructive types of shadow. Carl Jung emphasized the importance of being aware of shadow material and incorporating it into conscious awareness, lest one project these attributes onto others. The human being deals with reality of the shadow in 4 ways: denial, projection, integration, and/or transmutation. Now, I believe what is happening when a question that exposes a conflict in a belief, something that somebody said, or even something about someone they idolize, and the question gets avoided, that is the fast unconscious mind going into denial, and the response is often a projection. This can also trigger an emotional response, activating the amygdala more and the prefrontal cortex less, where rational conscious thought is said to happen, and the amygdala starts to get the body to flood itself with chemicals and hormones. It's like the fast mind knows conscious awareness will say it's wrong, so it blocks it off to defend itself from admitting it's wrong. In cases of denial and because it blocked off the rational mind, The responses are often irrational, like personal attacks do not address the issue or answer the question. I think we can agree people have a very hard time nowadays admitting when they are wrong. I am not exempt from this myself, I do realize. And we see how badly question avoidance affects us all if you watch political meetings and watch them avoid questions all day long. So, the first thing to go over is denial, as that is the main one I expose with questions. A disowning or refusal to acknowledge something that I think is a good definition here. I think there is really good 2-minute video I use an example of this. A streamer named Vegan Gains claiming lobsters have brains after someone said he can eat lobsters because they do not have brains. He Googles it and he starts to read what it says. When he gets to the part where it says neither insects nor lobsters have brains, he skips it and says they literally are insects, and then just skips over that line and continues to read the rest. Just like in the fast thinking video, his fast mind has already read that line and refuses to acknowledge it in unconscious denial and just skips it. The person then tells him he skipped it and he reads it again and sees the line this time, still being defensive of his claim and refusing to accept he was wrong. He tried to discredit the source, and it's from the Lobster Institute of Maine. If you'd like to see the video, blah, blah, blah. I'll just skip over that part. Justin Trudeau avoiding the question of how much his family was paid by the We charity 6 times in a row, I think is denial as well. I think Jordan Peterson not being able to answer his own question of does he believe God exists and asking what do you mean by do and you and believe and saying no one knows what any of those words mean while seemingly angry, I think is another really good example of denial and projection. I find, and while JP finds those words difficult, other people might understand them easy. Even he does pretty much in any other time they are used. So projection is up next. Psychological projection is a defense mechanism people subconsciously employ in order to cope with difficult feelings or emotions. Psychological projection involves projecting undesirable feelings or emotions onto someone else, rather than admitting to or dealing with the unwanted feelings. Many times a mind in denial will use projections for responses. Someone getting mad and telling the other person to not interrupt when they have been doing that a lot themselves would be an example of this. I've done this myself. The people who tell me I don't understand my own questions and my point is wrong when they do not even know what the point is are all examples as well. I ask them to steel man my position to show if they understand it or not, and they just avoid that question as well, showing that they don't really understand my point. Now we have integration and or transmutation. Integration is when you bring an unconscious behavior into conscious awareness and accept it. I know that I interrupt the people talking sometimes, even though I think that is wrong to do. I have conscious awareness of it, but I have not been able to completely change the behavior yet. That is where transmutation comes in. Transmutation is completely changed that unconscious behavior from being impatient to being patient, or from distrust to trust, hate into understanding, and love even. And then I just have 3 questions at the end that I often ask is, so is this understandable or confusing?
I think it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense, and like I've seen countless examples of this happening where people will absolutely deny and they will project and they will essentially just try to. I don't know if it's a pride thing or if it's like a safety thing. I wonder if people feel safe when they're in the realm of the things they understand, and so they get into dangerous territory when they kind of enter the unknown, and that's a very scary thing for people. And I think that there's some people who are subconsciously doing it, and then I think there's others who are definitely consciously doing it. I think a lot of politicians are probably consciously doing it. I would say more intelligent people consciously do it, and then less intelligent people would probably subconsciously do it.
Yeah, I think it's a little of both of what you said there first with like the, if it's more just, I can't ever, I can't remember exactly the words that you said, but I think it's a little of both of what you said there.
Yeah. Oh, I said conscious and unconscious. A little bit of both, right?
No. Before that.
Okay. Before that, I said. I don't even remember, dude. So.
I know. Oh well. It's recorded. Whatever he said
it's
before.
Yeah. They'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what prompted you to write all this? Because this basically looks like a short essay. So what prompted you to write all this?
I think this is the biggest problem in the world today. And what really got me going on this was, like, my name is Sawkrates, right? And I like to ask a lot of simple questions, and I really see a lot of my questions get avoided. Like, if you want to, like, because, okay, I use this in a lot of Christian and Muslim channels. These certain questions I'm going to ask next, and I started recording the results. Now, the Christians and the Muslims are less than 3% in YouTube comments. I'm finding better results with Discord, but in YouTube comments, we're less than 3% at answering these questions. Meanwhile, atheists and agnostics and Buddhists, other religions that don't have the idea of a most just and most forgiving God, they didn't have any problems either. They find these questions very simple, and we're nearly 100% at answering them. So I'll just post it in the comment here, and then I'll read it off. So, all criminals are caught red-handed of murder, 100% guilty, and show no remorse. The judges always apply the perfect amount of punishment when they punish, all things being equal and for argument's sakes. There are 4 judges and 10 guilty criminals. Judge 1 orders punishment for all 10 criminals and does not forgive without punishment a single one. Judge 2 forgives without punishment all 10 criminals. Judge 3 forgives without punishment 9 of them and punishes 1 of them. And Judge 4 punishes 9 of them and forgives without punishment 1 of them. The first question is, which judge is the most maximally just?
So I would say the first judge is the most just because he's punishing all the 10 criminals and he doesn't forgive them without punishment. So according to the law, I think that would be just.
Correct. And number 2, which judge is the most maximally forgiving?
Well, that would be Judge 2 because he literally forgives them all without punishment, yeah.
Right. Number 3, is Judge 3 either most maximally forgiving or most just?
Judge 3 forgives without punishment 9 of them and punishes 1 of them. So he's more maximally forgiving, right?
Well, I think the most maximally forgiving and most just, you said, were Judge 1 and 2, right?
Right.
So
so is Judge 3 either most maximally forgiving or most just? Well, he would be more forgiving than just.
Yeah, but out of the 4 judges, right? Like,
well, he would be in the middle of them.
Yeah, he would be in the middle, but I don't think he would hold the title of either, because the title actually belongs to Judge 1 and 2.
That's true. I don't see it. I see only answers for most maximally forgiving or most just, and he wouldn't fit either of those.
Correct. And then number 4 is basically the same question, which I think has the same results, right?
Yep.
The titles belong to 1 and 2. And then number 5 is it possible for any judge to be both most maximally forgiving and most maximally just?
No, not in the definitions you put out.
Right. That doesn't seem very complex, but yet, like I was saying, less than 3% were able to answer these questions. Often, I was just getting attacked, even just for asking them.
Okay, well, is that just because people on Discord are trolls, or is that just
Well,
because
this
like?
wasn't on Discord. This was in YouTube comments.
Oh, okay. So they were answering honestly.
Yeah, I believe these people
Okay,
were
wow.
answering honestly.
So only what? So what questions did they get wrong?
They just don't answer them.
So they basically just don't answer the questions and they attack you.
Yeah, not all the time. Like I said, 3% did answer them, right? And we go on to have an interesting conversation about it. But a lot just start going off like, these are loaded questions. You know, this is all a fallacy. That doesn't apply to God. There's many different responses that I would get, but they didn't answer the question. So, and that's the main thing that I'm looking for.
Yeah, so I see what's going on here. So you're saying this projection and this denial and this projection where it's like people are so concerned with the implications of challenging their beliefs that they instantly jump to, accusatory remarks because they're afraid of finding weaknesses in their foundation.
Correct.
Yeah. And so basically they're just going to trying to deny you as much as possible because they're trying to hold on to the hope that they understand the answers of the world and that it's not any more complex than the answers they already have.
Yeah, they're just basically trying to say that I'm wrong. And if you want, like I used these for like over 6 years. I had nearly 20,000 responses. There was like 8,500 Christian responses and like 7,000 Muslim responses that I have to tally.
Wow.
Yeah, it took me. Like I said, it took me a long time to build up those kind of numbers. But I wanted to see if this is true, right? Like, so I'm putting it to the test. I started with some newer ones about a year ago about morals, because often I get told, because I'm agnostic atheist, I have no grounding for my morality, and well, I wanted to put that to the test to see if they have grounding for their morality. So if you don't mind, I'll show you some of the moral questions that I've been posting, and the Christians are less than 18% in YouTube comments, but in Discord I'm finding I'm getting about 50%. And the Muslims were less than 7% in YouTube comments. But again, in Discord, I'm finding about 50% so far. But
yeah, dude, I noticed that too. There's a lot of Christians and Muslims in the Discord channels. I don't know why. I think they're just really passionate.
For sure. Yeah, so these are the simple moral questions that I ask. Number one, you see a child drowning in a shallow pool and notice a person just watching that is able to save the child with no risk to themselves but is not. Is that person's non-action moral?
So the answer to this would be, it is amoral.
Yeah, you don't really believe. Yeah, you're gonna have weird answers.
Sorry, I'm probably not going to go the route you want, because this is probably like a question for lay people where they would say, oh, well, of course it's you have to save the child. It's a moral ought.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sorry.
And then, no problem. Hey, everybody's got their own perspective. I remember you saying that you don't believe in morals, so this is that is the answer I actually expect from you with that perspective. At least you're being consistent.
That can actually go into an interesting conversation if you want to talk about that at some point. Where I think altruism is inconsistent and therefore it's logically contradictory. But that's a discussion for later.
Yeah, at another time. I'd definitely be willing to have that discussion. That sounds very interesting.
Nice.
Number two, if you go to save the child, the man tells you to stop as he was told it was for the greater good, but he does not know what that is. Do you continue to save the child?
If you go to save the child, the man tells you to stop as he was told it was for the greater good. So there's a man in this scenario as well?
Well, that was the guy that was watching the child drown. That was
Oh, this is the
able to
guy
say,
watching the child drown. Okay, so the man,
yeah, yeah.
but he does not know what that is. Do you continue? Well, yeah, that's a great question. Like what? It's like if you don't even know what's good, how do you know how to act? So I would assume most lay people would say yes, you continue to save the child because they're subconsciously agreeing to the principle that morality exists, and therefore they would go and save the child. But this question right here kind of puts a halt to that because it questions the foundational framework for their beliefs that they don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and mainly this is because so often when it comes to the problem of evil, often the answer is, well, it's just somehow for the greater good. We might not know that, but what that is, but God does. So it's somehow for the greater good that we have guinea worms and that earthquakes kill people and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
it's just
they would all say yes, you need to save the child.
yeah. Almost consecutively, the answers are no, yes, no, yes, no. Doesn't matter if they're
Really?
theists. Yeah, yeah.
So straight down bisected 50%. Okay.
Yeah, and then
Okay, what's the next question?
number 3, is it an act of justice to punish innocent people for the crimes of others?
No.
Right. And number 4, if you were able to stop it and knew a person was about to rape a child, would you stop it?
Yes.
Yeah. And a lot of them will answer those first 4 because that's not really clear of what the point is here, right? Like they often don't see the point, but number 5 is when they really start to see the point of these questions, and that's the one a lot of them avoid. Would you consider a parent who put their kids in a room with a poisoned fruit and told the kids not to eat it, but then also put the best con artist in the room with the children, knowing the con artist will get the kids to eat the fruit, and the parent does nothing to stop it? A good parent.
Horrible parent. That's hilarious, dude. Yeah, they would get pretty pissed at that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bad parent, obviously, and I definitely see the relation.
Yeah, that's when it becomes clear. And like I actually saw a guy that he was answering all the questions one by one with each a single comment. And then he got to number 5 and he deleted all his other responses to the other questions.
Oh yeah, yeah, that sounds about right. That's hilarious, dude. It's
Yeah.
like you said. It's like you said. They're in denial. They don't want to challenge themselves. But
This is what I believe, yes.
yeah, that's good. That's good. It's the problem of evil, basically.
Yeah,
Um,
a lot of those questions are just the problem of evil. But I'm putting it in a state because like you can say all these things from before, like, slavery was evil and everything like that. But these questions are in reality now. Like these things actually happen. Children drown, people get raped. Sometimes we punish the innocent for the crimes of others by accident, and people get really mad when that happens because it could have been them. And there is people that say evil is for the greater good. These are all things that happen now. So that's why I tried to use something that's in the now.